So it's good to have people around you.
She had to remind you.
Right.
In that moment, yeah.
In that moment where it feels like it's happening to you, it's good to have people around you who say, hey, remember, this is happening for you.
Well, what happens when you don't have that person or you don't have people around you that are reminding you?
They make sure that those people are watching the Self-Talk podcast. That's how you fix that. Because then they're hearing, and look, I'm joking, but I'm not joking, right? The people in your circle hopefully are reading like you're reading, growing like you're growing. They said, if you can't change the people around you, perhaps we should change the people around you, right? Because you can't really change people. You can only inspire people to change themselves.
Yeah.
And sometimes you spend so much time trying to change people instead of inspiring them or putting them in a position where they decide to change themselves. And sometimes listening to a third party source like us, not their best friend, not their mom or their child, listening to a third party source allows them to say things like, man, you know what? I just listened to this podcast or I just watched this podcast and something I realized. And that friend wants to say, I've been telling you that for 3 years, but it was third party.
If you're a go-getter, faith-driven, and family-focused, and need to break through to your next level, this is the podcast for you. Your self-talk can reshape every area of your life. It's time to dream and think big. Welcome to the Self-Talk Experience with Darnell and Tracy Self. It's time to elevate, baby. Let's get into the show.
Welcome back to the Self-Talk Experience. Hopefully, it's Thursday because every day is Thursday, right, babe?
That's right. Every day is the best day for you to watch this podcast, and we release it every single Thursday. So if you're watching or listening to this podcast on your favorite platforms, we appreciate you all. Thanks for tuning in to the Self-Talk Experience, where the things we say to ourselves about ourselves eventually determine what and even who you attract for yourself.
Yes.
So today, we're going to rewind a little bit because looking at some of the comments on YouTube and some of the feedback, a lot of the requests are about, how do you talk good to yourself? Right? Yes, this is self-talk. And I remember our first few episodes, we really honed in on talking good to ourselves and what that really meant, because most of us talk to ourselves. Even if we aren't aware of it, we talk to ourselves. We respond to things that are happening to us. Like, I can't believe that just happened to me. Right. And then we have said in our first few episodes, what did we say? You should be saying it happened for you, not to you.
Yes.
So that's the key, right? The key here is everything is happening for you. So when things happen, whether good or bad.
That is very tough.
I know.
Especially when you're in the moment.
Yeah.
You don't feel like it's happening for you at all.
I know.
I
know. But here's a good thing. When we have people around us who also believe that everything's happening for us, then they will hold us accountable when we start to veer off from that thinking, from that mindset. For an example, the other day, I shared something with your sister, and I can't remember what it was, but whatever it was, she said, well, just remember, this is happening for you. So it's good to have people around you.
She had to remind you.
Right.
In that moment, yeah.
In that moment where it feels like it's happening to you, it's good to have people around you who say, hey, remember, this is happening for you.
Well, what happens when you don't have that person or you don't have people around you that are reminding you?
They make sure that those people are watching the Self-Talk podcast. That's how you fix that. Because then they're hearing, and look, I'm joking, but I'm not joking, right? The people in your circle hopefully are reading like you're reading, growing like you're growing. They said, if you can't change the people around you, perhaps we should change the people around you, right? Because you can't really change people. You can only inspire people to change themselves.
Yeah.
And sometimes you spend so much time trying to change people instead of inspiring them or putting them in a position where they decide to change themselves. And sometimes listening to a third party source like us, not their best friend, not their mom or their child, listening to a third party source allows them to say things like, man, you know what? I just listened to this podcast or I just watched this podcast and something I realized. And that friend wants to say, I've been telling you that for 3 years, but it was third party.
Right.
So I would say, but you're right. If you don't have that person in your life or people in your life who are reminding you to talk good to yourself, then it starts with you.
But there's a song too, and it says, sometimes you just have to encourage yourself.
You want
You
to
have
sing
to
that?
find it. You love when I sing, don't you? No, I'm not singing today. I will
Okay.
not. But that's something,
It's very true.
right?
No, it's very true. And one of the things that helps for me is affirmations, right? So you affirm yourself. And as you affirm yourself, it's like trusting yourself, believing yourself. And all of a sudden, other people start saying, wow, this person is going somewhere, because now that's your brand,
Right.
right? You've branded yourself like, hey, I'm confident. I love me. And people can tell that you love you based on what you've been saying and based on what you've been showing them.
Right. Also, it's interesting too. What I'm learning to do, I'm just starting to learn to do for myself, is being in control of your breathing. Because when you're in control of your breathing, because you're breathing right now, but you're not thinking about it. But if you stop to think about your breathing, it makes you stop for a second and be able to just focus in on yourself and not be so quick to react. So sometimes you have to just take a second and just breathe, and then it'll come to you. But you have to get in the practice of doing that. So I'm trying to get in the practice of not responding right away, just taking a breath and thinking about it. Because sometimes that is a way you can encourage yourself, because it makes you stop and say, you know what? Okay, nobody's around me right now. I have to just for me. I have to take a second and think about what I need in this moment and what I want in this moment. And then after you decide that, then you're able to give it back out.
So let me
Does that
ask you
sound
this.
crazy?
No, it doesn't. Let me ask you this. Are you actually practicing that now?
I just started doing it.
So you are practicing.
Yes.
Right. So here's a shift in your self-talk. You're not trying to practice it. You're actually doing it now. So you're practicing it.
Okay.
Right? Because
Thank
you're like,
you.
hey, I'm trying to practice. But if you're actually doing
But
it,
I didn't even realize I said that.
I know.
That's crazy.
That's
I
why
didn't
it's
even
good to have
realize I
people around
said
you.
trying.
this is my point. So you're proving our point, right? Our point is when you have people around you who truly listen to you and they truly want what's best for you, and you've told them that, hey, look, I want to start talking better to myself,
Right.
right? And so if I say the word try, if I sound like I'm doubting myself, my future, my value, my worth,
I want you to speak up.
that's exactly. I give you permission.
tell me, and tell
That's
me.
exactly right. This is how you get better at anything. Having people around you who can help you to course correct. So I would say, number one, have a workout partner. Have someone who says, hey, look, I'm going to start. I've been listening to this podcast called The Self-Talk Experience. I'm going to start talking better to myself, because I know the things I say to myself those things are going to allow me to attract some better things for myself. And right now I'm not attracting exactly what I want, but I know what's out there. So, one, have a workout partner. Have a
Right.
workout partner who can hold you accountable. And it's always great to have a workout partner who's actually moving down the same path. Right? That way you don't feel like one doesn't feel like they're being drained by holding the other one accountable. They
That's
all
true.
feel like they're uplifting each other. Because
That's true.
none of us are going to be perfect during this journey, but it's good to have someone who's going to hold you accountable.
And if you do find that you picked a person who maybe is being drained, you have to be okay with letting it go and moving on to another.
Yeah.
Right. And that's touchy.
Yeah. So what you do in that case, now you're right. What you do in that case is you set up a time, right? So there's a time frame. So you say things like, hey, look, for the next 30 days, my goal is to, and I just want looking for someone to hold me accountable. Would you go along on this journey with me? So that way,
It's like oh no. And then after the 30 days, it's like a trial period.
Yeah,
and
but
if you don't like it, you can be like, yeah, that was great. Thanks so much for
but they'll
the
never
30
know
days.
unless they watch this too.
But we want everybody to watch it. this is bad.
Right. So unless they watch this too, they won't know. You'll say, thank you so much. It's been great. I think I really do talk better to myself now. Instead of things happening to me, I know they happen for me now. I'm excited. Right. So in the 30 days are over, and they get another workout partner who they feel is really moving down that road just like they are, and will be a better workout partner.
Yeah, but that's something else too. That's a whole nother topic. Being comfortable, having those conversations, and being okay with it.
Yeah.
Because I'm over here internally freaking out for the person already who's not going to be there anymore for 30 days. But it's okay.
Yeah, it is.
It's okay.
It is. It really is.
It has to be.
It is. And look, okay, let me go back a little bit. One, we're talking about right now having a workout
I
partner.
know, I'm
having
sorry.
someone
I'm
hold you accountable.
veering off.
No, it's okay. The second thing, only because we're going to make this a short episode, because I really want this to be kind of an assignment for our audience
Okay.
so that everyone watching and listening becomes intentional about the things they're saying to themselves. I know everyone's saying something to themselves, so I'm not worried about that. We're all saying something to ourselves. The key is, what are we saying to ourselves? And can we intentionally shift that to now attract everything we say we want for the rest of this 2022? We're already halfway through the year.
Right. Right.
So depending on whether people watching this now or later on, but you could literally change the rest of your year by simply changing the things you're saying to yourself, because the things you say to yourself determine how you feel about yourself.
But the key is knowing that you have to make that shift.
Right.
Because there has to be moments when you feel like you are talking good to yourself, but you're really not.
Right. No.
So if you're not even conscious that you need to make the shift, it still doesn't work.
Yeah.
So I think it's perfect that we're opening up this discussion, because it may prompt me and several others to say, wait, maybe I am, maybe that wasn't, perhaps. It starts you to question.
Yep. Yeah.
And questions are always amazing.
Right. Yeah.
Always.
And I think one of the things too is that if people aren't around other people who are progressing, then sometimes you feel like, oh, I'm good. But if you're around people who are actually are moving forward and changing and getting better, then you start to say things like, man, I wish I was growing like that. Like, what are you doing now? Like, you're glowing, like your energy, your vibrations, right? So people start to realize that, wow, I want to be like that.
Right.
I want to attract more. I remember just 2 years ago, you were in this situation, or 2 years ago, you were talking like this. And now it feels like you're just in a completely different place in life.
Right.
So all I'm saying is that you're absolutely right. I started that with affirmations, and I'm going to pull up my affirmations here. That's why I was like, why do I have my phone out? I'm going to pull up my affirmations.
You do realize you just told me I was right. I just want to make sure.
Yeah.
Because sometimes I'm not right.
No, yeah. But most of the time.
But you're publicly acknowledging.
Yeah, that you were right in this one situation.
Really? You just ruined you just ruined it. That's okay.
On this one day,
I hope
one episode, in this one second.
One of your affirmations is about me. Let's see.
I'm not even going to read all my affirmations, but it's how to affirm yourself. So it's not, I'm going to, I wish. It's speaking as though you're already exactly what you want. So, for example, I am humble and grateful. So it's I am. And it's a reminder of the person I'd like to be. And so even if my ego gets out of whack and I start thinking, yeah, look what I did, look what I accomplished. My affirmation says, but I'm humble and I'm grateful.
Yeah.
Right? I'm thankful. Yeah. So it's words like that, I am. One is, I no longer write my script, but ask God to reveal the script he's already written for me. So it's I earn such and such. I am building a successful podcast, right? So those are the words. And even, and some of this is just are saying things that you need to remind yourself of in an emotional state.
But the words, even the small words, are meaningful, because you can say, I will, but you're saying I am.
That's correct.
So I'm listening for,
Yeah.
it's key words even when you're doing affirmations, right?
That's correct. Yeah. Because if you say I will, what you're saying is that one day I'll become this.
Right.
But no,
But
you're saying,
I was paying
speaking
attention to
so this is what I mean by talking good to yourself. I exercise, not I'm going to, I hope to, one day I will. I exercise my no muscle and make no apologies for disqualifying people from my calendar. I have to be reminded of that.
Right.
That I exercise my no muscle, because I say yes in times where I shouldn't say yes, and then I'm overwhelmed.
So you wouldn't say, I want to exercise.
That's exactly right. Yep. I refuse to allow anyone to take me emotionally where I don't want to go. You see?
Wow.
So words like that, not like, one day I'm going to get myself together. And so
Right.
these are, so you're right. If you don't have a workout partner, you don't have someone right now who's around you that can hold you accountable, start affirming yourself.
Yes.
And maybe because of social media, even talk about how you're affirming yourself. And you'll find other people to say, oh my gosh, I do the same thing.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? So that would be helpful too.
And then draw that positivity.
Yep. Yeah. And then lastly, listen to audios, read books, attend events where there are like-minded people who truly talk good to themselves.
Yes.
And by association, you'll start talking good to yourself as well.
Yes.
Yeah. So this has been another episode to encourage every single one of us to start being intentional about talking good to ourselves. And what I said earlier is that this is going to be an assignment episode. So I'm going to ask that you really pay close attention to the things you're saying to yourself and jot down, hey, I caught myself twice today saying something that wasn't so positive about me, about my life, about my future. So that way you can say, I used to say it was an average 2 to 3 times a day. Now I'm down to 1.
Right.
And
That's good.
Yeah.
That's
and
good.
so that way you really pick up a habit, because habits lead you to success, but habits also lead you to a failure. And I don't want to see you guys failing in this regard, talking bad to yourself when truly you should be talking good to yourself.
Yes.
Remember, the things we say to ourselves about ourselves eventually determine what and even who we attract for ourselves.
Absolutely.
Talk good to yourself.
Thank you for listening to the Self-Talk Podcast with Darnell and Tracy Self. We hope you enjoyed. Be sure to rate and review this podcast on your favorite podcast listening platform. And we'll see you next time. And remember, talk good to yourself.
If you've ever started something and said to yourself, I'm not quitting until I reach the finish line, there's a perfect podcast for you. The We Won't Quit podcast by my man, Mike Humes, mailman to millionaire, never gave up. Not only did he have success, but he's helped a ton of other people do the same thing. He's going to be interviewing people who never stopped until they finish. So check it out. We Won't Quit podcast.